corruption is usually a transactional relationship between somebody who's got some assets and people who are more powerful and therefore in a position to extort some of these assets. Like the Amin government could have done in Uganda, but instead it chose to expel all the Asians in 1972.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to discuss issues about corruption. And our theme of discussion is Kenya on the right track in the fight against corruption? We do have our guests that are going to take us through the discussion. And of course, I'll be moderating the session. So I'm going to request our chairman, Mr. Richard Nyaga, just to make the opening remarks for this session. Karibu, Chairman.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our 42nd BTS. Our forum today gives us an opportunity to interrogate this major issue on whether we are on the right track in fighting corruption and whether adequate measures have been put in place to ensure that these things are minimized. So, with those few remarks, again, karibuni everybody, and thank you very much.
I want to request Ms. Uta from Hansidel Foundation, who is the new boss I had mentioned earlier, just to come and make a few remarks, and then you proceed.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chair, Henry, thank you so much for the introduction. The Hansidel Foundation has been active in Kenya and the East African regions for 20 years now. So I've been stepping into big shoes now, being a young representative here in Kenya. We do political education, political dialogue, and political consultation. Kara has been one of our most prominent partners here in Kenya. I would like to commend Kara for the dialogue sessions they organize and for all the work they do on the ground. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome everyone again, and I thank you for coming again. Thanks so much.
So let's now listen to our speakers and get some facts out of opinion polls and out of some research. And at this point, I'm going to request Tom Wolf just to come and share with us some of the findings that he has made through the research work that he's doing.
Thank you very much, Henry. And good morning, everyone. Very nice to be given a chance to participate in this forum. All right, the first subject that we included in our questionnaire, and as I say, the corruption section was a small part of the entire survey. The interviews lasted about an hour, was awareness of local level land grabbing. And we asked people, were they aware of any land in the locality where the interviews were taking place? And as I just said, 37% of them were in urban areas and 63% in rural Kenya, all over the country. 15% said yes. Very interestingly, it was highest at the coast. And we don't have to get into a detailed discussion as to why more people at the coast are aware of land grabbing there, but I think those who have any historical appreciation of land issues at the coast will see that these findings make sense. Why there's much less land grabbing in Western, I'm not sure, but I think it has to do with population density there. But those of you from different parts of the country could interrogate these findings on a regional basis and see if they make sense. For those who are aware of any such land grabbing, we asked what type of public land has been grabbed at the local level. And the most vulnerable institution is the education sector, as we saw right here on Langata Road with the primary school, followed by communal land that used to be for pasture or for maybe traditional purposes, or even for collecting water and so on, and then agricultural land and so on. We also asked those people who are aware of local land grabbing, do they know of any local efforts to recover this land? And about 1/3, 34%, are aware. And of those who are aware, 71%, nearly 3/4, hope that such recovery efforts will succeed. It would be interesting to go back to them, these same individuals, in 6 months or a year and find out were those hopes realized or not. Then we come at the macro level to corruption scandals under the current government. And we asked, are you aware of any corruption scandals? More than half of all Kenyans say yes. 3/4 in Nairobi. Obviously, in Nairobi, people have more access to information. There's a higher level of media consumption and much less in other parts of the country. And then for those who are aware, the 57%, we asked what particular scandals they know about. And Chickengate came first with 1/3. And people, it was a multiple response. They could mention more than one. The Karen land scandal, I think it was 126 acres. I don't know how that's been resolved or how that's been proceeding, followed by Anglo leasing, the police recruitment scandal, and so on. Next, from our survey data, it's clear that the public's definition of corruption not only includes the original act of corruption as Transparency International defines, the appropriation of public resources for private gain, but also later, the cost to us and the public, and I am a taxpayer in Kenya, that is the government making additional Anglo leasing payments years later, hence under Jubilee, as well as current attempts through money or threats or simply as personal favors to friends to interfere with ongoing corruption investigations. Finally, when we asked people in our last survey of last year if anyone in the household pays taxes to KRA, only 9% said yes. And we asked the same question, excuse me, last month, beginning of this month, we got 10%. So basically, only 1 in 10 households in Kenya pay income taxes. With such a narrow tax base, I'm sorry to tell you that the public demand for accountability is bound to be low. This is why corruption tends to be much higher in countries where most public expenditure is based on resources extracted from the ground, like petroleum or minerals. That is, if it's not my goat that's being eaten, why should I care that much? So will Kenya's economic structure have to change before any serious progress can be made against corruption, at least in the public sphere? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom, for those figures and those facts. They normally say you can't argue with figures and you can't argue with facts. So, ladies and gentlemen, we also have Dr. Kivuva Joshua, who has also been involved in an extensive research on issues of corruption through the Afrobarometer. And they just released the results the other day. And I'm sure he has a different perspective or more insight onto the whole subject that we're discussing today.
Can we successfully fight corruption today? Do we have the structures? Do we have the will? And here we are not just talking about the political will. Even the citizens themselves, do they want corruption eradicated? The institutions we put in place, they are put, in fact, in an article I just wrote recently. I said clearly that even the institutions that we create to fight corruption, we do it in such a way that we doom them to fail even from the beginning. We cannot fight corruption with an EACC that cannot tell us who owns the building that they operate from. Secondly, and this is very consistent, that the government has performed very poorly in fighting corruption. And I get surprised when people expect otherwise from the government. We elect thieves. In fact, before the new constitution, the best representative was the one who went to steal from Kenya to bring to our constituencies. That's why we retain the kind of people that we retain, knowing very well at the national level they are corrupt. But as long as they bring that product to us, we were very, very happy. And of course, government institutions, the police, government officials, and members of parliament are the most corrupt. And in the non-state actors, the business community was seen as the most corrupt as well. And when it comes to schools, of the people that said it was very easy to get a public school for your child, 3% still ended up paying a bribe as compared to 25% who had said that it was difficult to get. Getting assistance from courts, 13% of those who said it was very easy to get this assistance, meaning that it was almost free, 13% still ended up paying a bribe, as compared to 60% who found it, who paid bribes. When it comes to obtaining identity documents, 13%, despite saying it was very easy to get an identity card or to get an identity document, they still ended up paying bribes. But the ones who found it difficult, 53% did it, and the same for the police. Meaning that there is a clear relationship between the ease with which you get a service or get a document and your ability to pay bribes. This is another interesting thing that we were asking people just to report the incidents of bribery the last 1 year. 70% say they never paid a bribe, but 30% reported that they did. But of those that did, look at the percentage that reported it, only 6%. Meaning that a whopping 94% will not report that, which is quite interesting. The reasons why they do not report, as I've said, is that they are afraid of consequences. But then there are those, a quarter, 1 out of every 4, who believe that it will not make a difference. Then there is a 9% that believes corruption is normal.
So I would like to rearrange this and ask Mr. Kimeo just to come and give us some brief presentation on his perspective as Transparency International.
If we are serious about the fight against corruption, and if we make progress in the fight against corruption, we expect that what has been stolen from the public coffers would be returned to the public. Progress is constituted in ensuring that whatever is fed into the justice, in the legal system, is delivered from the other side. And I am talking here about issues of wealth declarations and lifestyle audits that we have devalued as a country consistently at great peril to ourselves. I do think that if anyone needed any convincing that this is the way to go, that is the issue of lifestyle audits and wealth declarations, you just need to look at the vetting exercises that we've been having for the judges and magistrates and for the police on the other side. And you will see that for those who were unable to, those who were found by the vetting bodies to be unfit to hold public office, majority of them, it was because of unexplained wealth. Overall, of course, whether we are making progress or not, I think there is some progress. It's very marginal. It's very marginal to the extent that it would look negligible. But perhaps this reawakening is going to hasten the pace so that if we meet here next year, we could see some progress that is tangible and that can be supported with empirical data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel, for that very in-depth presentation. I think he has touched on a number of issues, and I don't want to really go back to them in the interest of time. So allow me to request Mr. Bob Munoko to come and speak to us, and I hope you can make it as brief as possible.
To today's theme, whether Kenya is on the right track in fighting corruption, my answer is yes and no. Right? Yes and no. Before I joined the commission, that is 3 years ago, I used to have my own reservation on what exactly these independent commissions do. Isn't it? And you'll agree with me, Kenyans, isn't it? Because out there, Kenyans who are having this feeling that, so many task forces, so many independent commissions were establishing, and therefore they are just using up taxpayers' money. But my own experience at the commission, right, after 1 year, we have been able to handle a number of complaints. And of course, you will allow me to share with you some of the statistics. In 2012, that is just before the commission was established. Remember, the commission became an independent body in 2011. So in 2012, we were able to handle 4,062 complaints. That is 2012 alone. In comparison with 2013, the number of complaints went up to 18,000. Over 18,000 complaints that we handled from members of the public. So that is an indication that, you see, the increased awareness that the Commission we have been creating, more Kenyans have been able to bring these issues to their attention. Last year, the figure, of course, I'm going to give it includes also the complaints that were handled by public institutions. Remember, the Commission on Administrative Justice, we play an oversight role over all public institutions, both at the county level and the national level. And therefore, it's a requirement for them to submit quarterly report to the Commission at the end of the quarter. So in 2014 alone, we are going to publish our annual report, I think, in the next 2 months. The Commission was able to handle over 80, or the number of cases that were brought to the attention of the MDAs and the Commission in total were over 80,000 complaints. So what I'm saying here is that you see the number of complaints, they are going up. I indicated to you that when this commission was still a department, that is public complaints, a standing committee, on average the number of complaints were 35 per month. But when there was a need now to establish an independent body, what Kenyans we normally call teeth to bite, you will see the number of complaints going up from 2012 to 2013 to 2014.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mnoko, for that presentation. So I want to take the next few minutes just to expand the discussion and listen to you in terms of your contribution, whether you have a question, a comment, or even a recommendation on what needs to be done in regards to the theme of discussion. So I'm going to very quickly take a few questions.
Why was it necessary not to simply make the CID or the police in general stronger in terms of prosecutions, in terms of investigations, so that what they don't have is given to them, so that somebody can stand aside to watch what they are doing?
Until the day our president came to Parliament, National Assembly, and gave out that list of shame. We were very happy. They were told to step down. Those elected refused to step down, the notorious governors. Surely did we elect them to steal? We trusted them, that's why we elected them. So what do we do so that they can step down? Tutadu?
Why can't we come with such kind of system whereby that if a police is collecting a bribe, you can use your mobile phone by sending that serial number to the relevant authority for immediate action?
Corruption is not a problem in Kenya. Corruption is a crisis in Kenya, a total crisis. Because each and every person, even here where they are asking you questions, they are part and parcel of the corruption.
I think there is a legitimate question whether the list forwarded to the president by the president to Parliament could actually be a basis for the stepping aside or suspension or resignation of a governor. There would be questions that need to be responded there, because you have lots of issues. You have there's different levels of government. You have issues of legal competencies for institutions and officers, but clearly we do have issues with our elected leaders. We must find a way of holding them to account. If you look at the Constitution, there's an insinuation that a lot of people have used to say that our elected leaders are not subject to any integrity standards except the ballot. That once you elect them, then you have basically given them a carte blanche to do what they want. And since we didn't put in place a system of managing the integrity, it is only if they are charged with an offense that they can step out of office. That means our fight against corruption will remain very muted.
All these things are related, and we always support them until they touch on us. If I said here, we identify, if we were to get Jesus and angels to tell us who are the corrupt, and we say we kill them, I'm sure almost every lawyer here will oppose it. Because they will say, no, you're not supposed to kill them. You're supposed to use a judicial mechanism. You're supposed to use the law. Yet they come and confess that the law is also corrupt. You remember when the president led by saying that I attach a list of the corrupt. Everybody applauded. 2 days after, everybody was saying the mechanism of attaching that list there was not lawful. So what do you want? You want to fight corruption or you want to use the law? When you expect the government to be so strong to enforce laws, then you come and again complain the government is too strong. It is dominating the people. It is exploiting the people. It is... What are you saying? It cannot be strong and exploit people at the same time. When it is strong, it will enforce the law. When it is strong, it will make just laws. The fact that it is not making that, it is because it is weak. And rather than weakening it, we need to strengthen it. But we need to strengthen it using the law. But the problem again is that law is also manipulative, and so it is a vicious circle. Until we decide this is what we value more. And Kenyans decided we value elections more. And that is why when Uhuru is fighting corruption, he will only ask one question. If I fought so and so, am I likely to get re-elected or not?
As much as elements or will have cases of corruption, but then as Kenyans, right, are we mindful of the wanyonge? If you are sued by a government department, right, and then a determination is made in your favor, and probably there is some form of compensation, that is a complaint that you can bring to our attention. We can handle it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know there are still maybe some burning questions that need to interrogate, but let's engage during the tea break or when we're having tea, so that you can be able to, if you have specific questions to Madam Mnoko, you can still ask him. I think he's still around.
The aspect of integrity should be put in all our institutions, right from universities, secondary schools, primary schools.
Mambo ya corruption imeongelewa sana katika nchi yetu na inaonekana ni ngumu sana kuisha kwa mambo ya corruption, sababu inatoka juu ikienda chini, up down. Ingekuwa inatoka chini ikienda juu ingekuwa afadhali, sababu kama inatoka juu ikienda chini iko na impact kubwa kuliko hii ya chini kwenda juu. Kwa hivyo it is fair to stay with us for quite a number of years to come. Sioni kama itaisha mimi.
Kara wanaleta watu wazuri sana kuzungumza na sisi na tunajibiwa maswali yetu vizuri. Hii Kara mimi naona kama inafanya kazi mzuri sana ya civic education, kuelimisha watu. Kwa sababu hivyo ndio nimesikia hapa, hata majirani zangu huko kwa resident wapi Jericho wapi huko ninaenda huko kwetu chini, mimi nitaenda nitawaambia wengine.